How did Altra change the running shoe industry? Well, in 1998, Golden Harper and Brian Beckstead both met in their sophomore year of high school on the first day of cross-country practice in Orem, Utah. Shout out to the Utahns. And these two boys were obsessed with running shoes and running in general. They said, we ran cross-country and track, we practiced hard, we worked at the running store, and we just totally became shoe nerds. But Golden had noticed something peculiar while working at the running store, because he noticed that the stride and the gait of barefoot runners changed as soon as they wore traditional running shoes. And to try to figure out why, he started cutting apart running shoes in true Rose Anvil fashion and noticed how much higher the heel was than the forefoot on basically every single running shoe. And so he thought there was some correlation there. So to test this hypothesis, he Frankensteined these shoes by removing the padding from the heel and using a toaster to heat up the glue and gluing them back together, and something clicked, and that spark of Frankenstein life occurred, bringing to life what eventually would become Altra shoes. And Golden said, for the first time in my life, I'm wearing a normal feeling running shoe. I don't feel like the shoe is messing with the way I'm running. And he surmised that the design allowed for a more natural running experience with the footfalls in the mid to forefoot area instead of the more typical heel strike. And Harper called this design Zero Drop, which gained notoriety in the local running scene and now obviously is a lot more popular. And after some initial concepting by the local runners and store employees, they commissioned a local cobbler to make 1,000 pairs of the Zero Drop wide toe box shoes, and they sold out fast, which led him to pitch the idea of this type of footwear to footwear companies, but nobody was interested at all in the concept. Which in hindsight might have been the best thing to happen to Altra, because this led to the idea being pitched to venture capitalists and former Nike designers, which quickly took the company from this backroom operation here in Utah to an established brand with international production. And then by 2011, Altra was acquired by Icon Health and Fitness, a large manufacturer of sports-related equipment up in Logan, Utah, the city of my alma mater, USU. Soon after entering the North American market, they won Runner's World Magazine 2012 Best Debut Award, and each year since 2011, Altra doubled its sales, and by 2013, they're at 300% growth with over 1,500 retailers selling their Zero Drop wide toe box shoes. And thanks to Bespoke Post for sponsoring today's video. If you don't know, Bespoke Post is a monthly membership club that delivers a box of awesome straight to your front door, and 90% of their products come from small brands, many of which are based here in the United States. And each month, Bespoke Post introduces new cool products like clothes and stuff for your house, camping, cooking gear, basically anything you'd want, and they base it off of your preferences after you fill out a little quiz to see what you like and what you don't like. And now they're offering new membership programs where you can access good deals all year round, 30% off. So now let's see what I actually got, because I've been waiting to unbox these. This is the one I'm really excited for, because these are the nomadic little bags. You got your large cube bag, got a little shoe bag here to keep all the junk that's on the bottom of your shoes away from all your other stuff if you're traveling with shoes. Smaller version of the big cube, just a little more rectangular. Next box. What do we have here? Check this out. So, this is a little mini camera. Look how tiny that thing is. And here's the film, and a little leather strap for it. So each month you'll get a customized selection just for you. Ships either one, you can keep it, two, you can swap it out for different products, or you can skip that month entirely and they don't charge you and you only pay for what you want. And right now, to get a free mystery box on your first membership purchase, click the link in the description and enter the code ROSEGIFT at checkout, or go to bespokepost.com/rosegift to check that out, because it is really cool stuff. So check them out below. And around this time, a young 20s Weston was sitting in the entrepreneurship speaker series at USU, where Harper presented in front of like 1,000 of us students about his brand and what they're doing to change the footwear industry. And this was a huge inspiration to me as an entrepreneur, and really piqued my interest even further in the footwear industry, because it made me realize not everything is what it seems, and there's plenty of room for growth in the footwear industry. So even though I'm kind of all over this product, it had an impact on me. It was pivotal for this whole channel, this whole career, because it made me realize there's plenty of holes in this industry, even though it's been around since humans were putting leather on their feet. Then over the next few years, they continued to grow and test their footwear with the help of the local college kids that got paid out to walk on treadmills for hours and hours a day, including my little brother and my roommates. And in 2018, Altra continued its growth trend and was acquired by umbrella company VF, which is parent companies of Vans, North Face, Timberland, Supreme, and a bunch more brands. And due to this new acquisition and the extended reach and the deep corporate pockets, today you can find Altras basically at any retailer, especially in the outdoor industry. And they single-handedly shifted the footwear industry just a few degrees by making shoes more anatomically correct, with innumerable brands popping up selling this style of shoe, including some of the brands that we've covered, and even some of the big players, like some of the big name brands. So then what happened to this boot? Well, let's start figuring out first, what is this boot? Well, the brand is Altra. The style is the Olympus 5 Hike Mid GTX. They weigh 1 pound, 2 ounces. They retail for $220. They're made in Vietnam. And the way that they position this product is hit the trails all day in this lightweight, waterproof hiker designed for high cushion comfort and traction on technical terrain. What's it feel like to hike all day in supportive waterproof pillows? Find out with the Olympus 5 Hike Mid GTX. Move the way you were designed to with our roomiest toe box and plenty of room for your toes to move freely, space through the midfoot, and zero drop. If you want to pair these, be sure to check them out via link in the description. So what happened with this boot? What's going on with it? Well, let's start with the upper, because the upper is a pretty standard upper for this affordable foam-based hiking series that we're doing. It has plenty of synthetic materials, some overlays to reinforce some areas. Has this really unique little pull tab on the back. Has a little rubber toe bumper, but the leather on thing is less than standard because this leather is a pretty thin 1.2 millimeters nubuck leather. And if you don't know, 1.2 millimeters is about what you see in thicknesses on the lower end of sneakers. For most boots, we see anywhere from 2 to 2.5 and then maybe 3 millimeters at the thickest. And since it's a nubuck, they do sand it down to get that microfiber look to it. The problem with this, we cut a little cross section out of it and they sanded a lot of that grain down. And that grain is that really tight fiber structure that holds all those loose suede fibers together. The result of that is all these little spots that it creases over and over and over, it increases the likelihood of this leather splitting and cracking and falling apart sooner than a thicker leather. But at the same time, it performed really, really well on the puncture test because it took 161 pounds to puncture through. One thing that really sucks about this boot with not a lot of excuses is the lining, because this lining is basically just the Gore-Tex lining. You know, because it's, most of the time you see the Gore-Tex lining between the outer layer and the inner lining, but the lining is the Gore-Tex layer with just a tiny thin layer of fabric over top. And the problem with that is as soon as you wear through that at all, you've worn through the waterproofing and now your boot's no longer waterproof. And we did do the waterproof test, it passed with flying colors, even with the amount of wear that I had in this, probably less than 100 miles hiked. But that's not even the biggest complaint I have with the lining, because right here at the top of the gusset, it bunches up really bad and it's sewn in a weird way and it's super uncomfortable. It kind of pokes the top of your foot really hard. You know, and I broke these in a good amount and it still was bothering me. And I think over time, when they're really broken in, it's not gonna be a big deal. But that combined with basically the Gore-Tex lining being the lining of the boot, not great. But one thing I really love about this boot is the comfort underfoot. This thing is so freaking comfortable. They were not lying about it feel like you're walking on pillows or clouds. It's so comfortable. And it's because it's just a huge, thick midsole. And they use what they call Interflex midsole, and it's comprised of a grid-like groove designed to provide flexibility and movement and extra squish. And we'll see what that really looks like when we get it cut in half. And they don't have that same energy return feel of the Boost foams from the Terex boot that we reviewed from this series. And it also doesn't have that same walking in quicksand feeling that the Under Armour's did. And that's partly because the foam is a 30 short A compared to the Under Armour that was around 20. So it's a little bit more rigid, but it feels way softer because of that grid system on the inside. But there is a downside to this midsole, and that's the fact that the majority of the outsole is the midsole. We did the bar drop test, it bounced up 6 inches, about the middle of the pack. The puncture test took 73 pounds. The quarter, like the bottom quarter of all results, kind of reinforcing that idea that it's just not very durable outsole. Because this is the Vibram Mega Grip outsole. It's supposed to be durable, sticky outsole for fierce trails according to Vibram, but the actual rubber is really, really sparse. All of this dark blue material you see, especially through right here, that's just the midsole foam. And you know, like I said, I only walked in these less than 100 miles, and you can see how much it's already fallen apart and degrading and chunks falling off. Because even though this is like a nice foam, it's not a really durable foam because it's foam. And the other aspect of that is because it's so soft, these really don't grip as well as a full rubber outsole or even a majority rubber outsole, because that foam just is never gonna grip as well as any of these lugs will. But even that, and everything that we just described that I don't love, is not the main reason why these kind of suck. So let's cut these in half and I'll show you exactly why Altra, this brand that changed the running shoe industry, their hiking boot kind of sucks. All right, we got it cut in half, and if you're not subscribed, consider just taking the mouse and hitting that subscribe button. It's free. YouTube rarely shows you what you're subscribed to anyway, and it helps us out a ton. And if you are subscribed, thanks for subscribing and all your support. So let's see what's inside. So that's why these things are so stinking comfortable, because they use a slightly harder foam, but it feels way softer because you have this really unique grid system on the inside. And I've really never seen this done inside of a shoe or boot before. You know, we've seen columns and it's the same principle, but nothing structured quite like that before. But at the same time, it's not glued very well. You know, it's not really glued at all. And the problem with that is as you wear these, those two layers move independently and it can wear out the foam, and especially where you have less surface area because of those cutouts, it could lead to premature wear. And especially when you factor in all the premature issues that we saw across the board with the leather, the lining, the foam outsole, and this uncemented midsole. But for a really easy groom trail, a Sunday afternoon hike, these are ridiculously comfortable. And I'm hoping the next version of these will solve some of these issues, because it could be a really, really good hiking boot for really like medium to low difficulty hikes. But right now it just has so many of these other little teeny problems that make it a little bit harder for me to buy. But at the same time, this is one of the only zero drop barefoot shoes that isn't just a single layer of 5mm rubber underneath your foot. It actually has a good amount of foam. It's going to be comfortable. And right now it doesn't seem like there's anything else out there that beats this. So even though I think it's pretty flawed and it's maybe not even close to being a really good intense hiking boot, it still is unbeatable as far as we've seen for this specific style. And on that note, how does this rank on our affordable foam-based hiking boot board? Well, I'd put it right below Adidas and above Under Armour, because the Under Armours were even worse than these. And let me know what other foam affordable hiking boots you want us to cover in this series. And sorry, Altra, for on your boot. So thank you guys for all your support and everything that you do, and supporting this channel, the Rose Anvil 2 channel, our handmade leather goods. It's the only way we're able to do this and cut apart brand new stuff every single week. So thank you guys. See ya. Altra, not ultra, Altra.